time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by PSE Archery,
Deer Camp Coffee,
Buck Baits,
JPO Game Calls,
The Island Armory,
Packer Max,
Sunrise Archery,
and C3 Better the Hunt Technology.
Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. Host Mike Adams sitting in the cabin tonight. It's a little warm. We got the air rolling, and I got Dan DeFaul here with me. And you have no air.
I have no air.
That's not good.
No. Air decided to take a putski last night.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Okay. So you're
get in line and
getting that all taken care of.
Yeah,
huh?
we'll get it taken care of, see what happens. But
okay.
I tell you what, it's July, it's hot out, and we're drinking cold brew.
It's the only thing to drink right now.
Right? My glass is sweating. Got ice in it. Good
Fantastic
cherry, right?
That's right.
There's Tammy Delk. There she is, joining the crew here tonight. It's going to be a great show. We've got Antler King on with Robie, and Mr. Mark Maverick Coleman is going to join us to help us with the interview because he is on the pro staff of Antler King.
There you go.
Right? So, everybody get your favorite beverage, sit back for the next hour, and let's rock and roll this and enjoy some talk about fall food plotting.
All right. Well, while we're talking about stuff, let's talk about the people who help us.
Absolutely. I tell you what, if you haven't checked out our Facebook page, right now, Deer Camp, which is also Buck Baits, they are in a contest in the city of Detroit to be best of the best. So we have shared that on our page. If you can, go over there, give them a vote, and then help them out. Maybe they can win best of the best for the coffee shop that they have. But other than that, how about Buck Baits? It's going to be about that time of year, folks. Not a few short months, but we'll be out bow hunting. We got some early seasons coming. You want to go check out buckbaits.com. Use the promo code UNJ20. You get 20% off your order over there. I tell you what, it might be hot, but it's not hot enough to get in there to use your Easy Cuts. And if you want a hot 15% off your order, use the promo code UNJ15OFF at easycutproducts.com, and you can get yourself some Easy Cut products that'll make your cutting around your food plots easy.
And they got some new swag over there, so you could actually get some cool apparel as well.
Absolutely. Next week, speaking of Packer Max, we're going to have Lincoln Roan on the show, and you know it's going to be good, because we're going to talk to him just about everything that should get him cranked up or not put into Facebook jail.
That doesn't take much.
Right. Does that mean he's getting old and cranky?
Well, he's about our age, so.
Right? We're getting there. But if you want $25 off your order over at packermax.com, use the promo code UNJ25. The Island Armory, folks. I always tell you, go check out the website because they got something new coming out into the store every day in stock, or they can order it. If you want 10% off your order, UNJ10 at the islandarmory.com. Give Natalie a call, and she can take care of you. JPO Game Calls. Thinking about September 1st, early goose season. Want to get into the Omni series with goose calls. Get over to jpogamecalls.com. Use the promo code UNJ10 and get 10% off your order. Last but not least, like we just talked about, Deer Camp Coffee. DeerCampCoffee.com. Use the promo code UNJ10. You get 10% off your order so you can make some cold brew. Get some UNJ blend to make your cold brew so you can join us with our own blend.
There you go. So, do you have the connection to the Great Upper Peninsula?
I don't.
You don't tonight. Okay.
I don't.
All right. Well, and but we just give them a quick shout out. Big thank you to FM 123 up in Newberry, Michigan, that carries the show for us. And
yeah, you know, up there in Newberry where it is a rock, and let's see if I can quickly. Oh, it's 66 degrees up there.
Okay, 66 versus 90 something down here.
Right. So I tell you what. You know, it's July. Everybody's freaking out about the heat. It's a little bit dry. My grass has got that nice sheen of brown to it. I like it. It's this time of year I won't be cutting.
So what do you think that's doing to the food plots?
I don't know, but we should find out.
Well, why don't we just do that? Let's get the boys on here tonight. I want to say hi to Mark Coleman and Robie Pruitt, Antler King, guys. Thanks for joining us tonight. I know it's hot here. We complain, but y'all are further south. What's the temperature where you're at?
It's smoking. It is literally smoking here.
Can you fry an egg on the pavement yet?
I cooked a steak earlier. I got about medium rare, but that's the way I like them anyway.
There you go. Good grief. It's been hot down there for quite a while. The further south you go, the drier, the warmer it is. It seems like it's just all across the Midwest. And that's what we want to kind of touch on tonight. Everybody's getting, amped up for hunting season. We're here in Michigan. We're less than 100 days away from the opener of bow season. Mark, there in Indiana, don't y'all open on the 1st of October, or is it the last weekend in September?
Yeah, it's the 1st.
Okay. And what about Illinois there, where you're at?
1st of October.
Okay, so about the same time, we've got, 90 days, close to 90 days now, 90-some days till bow season. Got to get those food plots in. But, Robbie, man, where do we even start in weather like this? I mean, what are people thinking, and what are some of the questions you're getting?
I'm getting a lot of questions over it, actually. Right now with this heat, the best thing you can do, no matter what you're wanting to plant, is maybe start looking into something that you can plant a little later in the season and still give you a very good amount of forage. With this heat going on right now, you start planting, let's say our honey holes, stuff like that. Here in the Midwest where I'm at, I'm planting that the 1st of August, the 15th of August. And, a lot could change by then, though. We don't know. But if it comes to getting closer to that time, I'm going to start looking more towards our Lights Out mix, which is our forage oat blend that does have some turnips in it, where I can plant it, into the middle of September. So hopefully by then I'll have more rains coming in. But it's dry. And what little bit of rain we are getting, the ground's soaking it up faster and it can come down. It's just not doing no good.
Speaking of that, just to put it in perspective, when you plant something like that, how do I want to explain? How much growth do I need to have before a freeze happens? Like up as we get further north in the UP and that, when we get into middle September, you never know. You kind of start dancing. You might get a freeze. Is there a certain amount of growth I need to have?
Each species has a different, maturity level rate. But what a lot of people don't realize is, let's go back to our honey hole, which, our honey hole this year, which I'm very proud to say is 30 years old this fall. That's the first annual mix that Todd Siddleberg ever put out. And its 30-year-old its birthday is this year in August for 30 years of this one mix there. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And that's still our number one selling mix. So, but let's say the honey hole there, you're looking at a brassica turnip variety. Everybody thinks bulbs, turnips, radishes. That's all they think. They don't think about all the forage that deer is actually getting from them brassica leaves. So even if you're planting your honey hole or your just straight turnips or straight radishes, even though you're planting them a little later, where they're not going to fully develop that bulb, you're still going to have so much high protein food there that is going to get you all the way through the deer season. No problem at all. So, and that's what the deer is pretty much going to eat on through anyway. Now, yes, you are going to lose some late season food with the bulbs if they're not fully matured, not as much forage there for them in the frozen time of the year when they're trying to dig them up and eat them. But when it comes to high energy food source, I don't really look at it as saying, man, I got to get this honey hole planted by the 15th. And if it's not the 15th, I'm not going to plant it because I need this much time before that first frost. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as in what Mother Nature has given me. I planted many plots of honey hole in the second week of September and had the most beautiful plots you had. Instead of having softball size turnips, I have baseball size. That's my favorite size anyway. So a lot of people jump ahead and they plant way too early, and that's worse than planting late.
Okay, so actually it's kind of like you said, you look at what Mother Nature's given you for the fact of, like you said, middle of September, early September might actually be better than a month earlier than in August.
Yeah, and truthfully, if you look at a bulb plant, and this is just something that I've always been told, I've always read up on it, I've done a lot of studying on it. When it comes to a bulb plant, or even like your oats, your cereal rice, stuff like that, you want to plant them to where they're going to be in their growing state when that first frost hits. You don't want them matured out prior, because as soon as the plant matures out, it starts getting real stemmy. So you want that plant in that tender state when that frost hits, and that the deer are going to hit it a lot harder for you.
So it's better to plant late than early.
Yes, sir.
Okay, makes sense.
All right, well, that's why we're talking to Antler King, to get these little tidbits for you. And I know up in the UP, anytime after Labor Day it can happen. It's just a matter of how the weather's playing, and it's like, okay. And the way he said it, I think actually, if I go up, which I plan to do over Labor Day, I should plant.
There you go. Well, looking ahead,
Exactly.
looking right now with the way the weather is in a lot of places, even natural forage right now has got to be down. There's no rain. What can we do to? I don't even like Danny. I don't know how to quite put this, but if we start getting those rains and we get our stuff in the ground, it's going to shoot up. It's going to come up quick.
Yeah.
What about the competition with natural browse versus our food plots? I mean, is there anything we need to really pay attention to that?
No, not really. I mean, I don't think so. The one thing I would tell people, and this is going to sound like a sales deal, and it's not a sales deal. Like right now with, let's say, my clover plots that I have right now, that they're dormant. Mm-hmm. They're dried up. They're dormant. It happens every year to us here in Illinois. We have this drought come in. Then coming in closer to October, we'll start getting hammered with rains, and the plots will be beautiful again. Mm-hmm. So what I try to tell people is that is the prime time to start using our liquid fertilizers. Our clover fuel for the clover products, the legumes, and then our jolt for the annual mixes. If you take a plant that is in its dormant stage, you don't want to spray it on there then, because the plant can't intake it. So when that plant gets the moisture it needs, starts to green back up, that's when you can hit it with our liquid fertilizers, and it's really going to give that plant a jump start and help you out a lot.
Okay, makes sense.
And as you're talking about them, we're showing them on right off the AntlerKing.com website, and you can go on there, check them out, what Robbie's talking about, and you actually just put them into your cart, and you can order them right from here. And as we know, as of today, it's free shipping.
Yes, sir.
There you go. So, with that being said, we're kind of in this July, August time frame where we're kind of, like you said, everything's dormant. How's your plots looking, Mark, in Indiana?
My plots, I was down there last Saturday. I've got 2 trophy clover plots, 1 game changer plot. And like Robbie was saying, they've kind of just gone into a dormant stage. I do have 1 trophy clover plot that's down in the bottom, and it gets a little bit of sunlight, but quite a bit of shade, and the deer just won't leave it alone. And I haven't had to go down there and mow that for a while, which is kind of nice, but it's just, I'm kind of just anxious. We got a rain on Sunday that I think is really going to help us. I did get some honey hole put out, hoping that it takes off. But no, the trophy clover, I haven't hit it with the clover fuel yet, but that's my next step, is to get that clover fuel on there.
Okay. And you mentioned versus in the shade versus out in the direct sun. Obviously, something in the shade right now is going to do and fare a lot better in this heat. And I got with the shade, keeping direct sunlight off, it's going to help hold what little bit of moisture we got. Actually, I think we got a picture here of that food plot you're just talking about, Mark. We're going to.
Yeah, it's a picture of you off your Facebook page. You've got the bag of Antler King in it, and it looks like you're a little bit in the back of the picture coming off the trail cam. But look at how green that is. And I tell you what, for comparing that to my lawn, that looks pretty darn yummy.
I haven't mowed my yard but one time this month.
I know, right?
So.
So that food plot there is in the bottom. That's the one that's a half mile from any road, 600 yards through the woods, downhill 300 yards. And what you see behind it where I'm standing, that's what it used to look like, is 6, 7, 8 foot tall weeds, milkweeds. And my brother and I went in there this spring, cleared it all out, hand broadcast this trophy clover. We raked up all the stuff that I mowed with my DR trimmer and just hand broadcast it over the top of what was left there. And within 7 days, we started seeing growth. And now you see what the final result is. I haven't had to touch it other than just mow it a couple times. And it just does. It looks like someone's backyard down in the middle of this pasture that's way back off the road. And it just, and that my trail camera goes off. I smile every time I look at that plot. Next year, go ahead.
Did you put anything down, Jalip's fade or anything, or did you just hit it with the trimmer and cut it back as short as possible?
Just hit it with the trimmer. Early spring, about middle April, went down there. Actually, the day that I killed my turkey, opening day turkey season, the 27th, I think, I had been down there mowing. So I had planted it like the 4th of April. And I just, I mowed it. We raked off all the cut stuff, got it back down to as close to the bare dirt as we could, and just went through and hand broadcasted out there, let Mother Nature do its work. That trophy clover, I'm telling you what, it's a perennial that'll last 6, 7 years. It'll keep coming back. But when it takes hold like that, it just looks phenomenal. I mean, I know Robbie's a trophy clover, or he's a clover nut. I'm starting to see why. Every time I go down there, it just looks better every time. I even left a little circle there in the middle of growth that I didn't mow just to show you what it would look like if I didn't mow it. And I put that bag of deer feed right there to kind of show off the distance from the camera. It is, it's one of my best plots. And I really didn't think I could get much to grow down there because it is in the bottoms. But with a little strategy of trimming out some tree limbs, you can get some sunlight in there. It just, it took off. I don't know. It's just amazing how well it looks in that space. I wish I'd done a bigger plot.
Well, I tell you what, to show how it's working, there's a couple of next photos that we got of some pretty nice bucks that are cruising through there, whether it be at night or during the day, kind of munching on it as they walk through it. So it's kind of a testament to what you did in the spring, got it growing. Now the bucks are reaping the benefit from it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'll tell you what, we're bumping up here on our first break. Let's take a quick break, step outside where it's warm, and we'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has reinvented the way you buy bows.
From now on, you can make the most educated decision possible
by basing your bow choice specifically on your shooting needs and goals.
All you need to do is ask yourself, what kind of shooter am I? What do I want to achieve?
PSE will help find the right category for you.
So, what kind of shooter are you?
Find out at psearchery.com.
Welcome back. Second segment of the show. Yep, it's dry. It's hot. We've been talking about food plots.
And we've been talking about food plots, and like we just talked about Mark using the DR mower to go out there. We know Robbie, he's been traveling around all spring with it, going to different shows. But there was something that came up in the last couple of weeks that Robbie, if it wasn't pointed out to you, you might not be in the same position you are today, because you might have had a little bit of an issue with a little bit of safety on the trailer.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, sir. I'll tell you what, it woke me up. I've been around trailers my whole life. I've been backing them into boat docks since I was 8 years old. And I've always been the guy that always keeps the track of my trailer. I'm always checking bearings. I'm always checking air pressure. I check the coupler, make sure it's not breaking down. And I pull a trailer a lot, especially on the show circuit. We have an aluminum 20-foot enclosed trailer, Antler King trailer. And thank the good Lord above, about 2 weeks ago, I was backing into my drive to load it up, and my neighbor came over and he noticed something wrong with the back axle. Long story short, the aluminum hangers that hold the torsion axle on both sides of the rear axle, that 8-inch weld was busted out, and there was only about a half of an inch to 3/4 inch holding that axle on both sides.
How did
and if I would have left down the road, if I would have left down the road with that, I promise you, I wouldn't be here right now, and whoever was close behind me probably wouldn't be either. It would have been terrible.
Was that just a visual sight that somebody saw it walking up to the trailer when they were looking at it?
He could tell the back axle, when I was backing up into my driveway, he could see it hopping. And what that axle was doing was flexing on that weld back and forth, up and down.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he just happened to come over to see if I needed help loading the trailer up. And, another half hour, if he wasn't there, a half hour later, I've been driving down the road pulling it. So, I've been telling everybody, crawl underneath them, especially, I put it out on social media for all the guys in the show circuit right now that, hey, get underneath them trailers, look them over. This is the very first aluminum trailer I've ever owned or ever had. All mine are steel trailers, but I just never really thought about the hangers on the steel ones, but I'm even checking them now, check them all out. So, yeah, it's not worth it. We put a lot of miles on these trailers, especially the guys food plotting. Don't get me wrong, you see it every day, and I see it. I am very anal when it comes to loading a trailer. I know what a trailer will hold. I know what I can put on it. Every day I see people overloading trailers and got bent axles, the whole 9 yards, just trying to get a tractor here or there or something. It's a death trap waiting to happen.
We see a lot of it here in Michigan going up down I-75. We see boats on the side of the road where they have back bearings. They got a bearing welded up on them. Tires blown, not checking air pressure. And this goes for campers too, because I do a lot of camping.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of these trailers, if you buy them new, check the tires that are on them when you buy them, even though they're new. There's a lot of tires out there that are not rated for the trailers they're on, and it happens a lot, especially in the camping industry, and it'll blow a hole right through the bottom of your trailer, and it could kill somebody, actually.
Yep. exactly.
You know, that's what we did. As soon as I found out about tires, I looked at mine. Sure enough, they had what's better known as China bombs. That's what people call them.
Yep.
And first thing I did is I went down to the local tire shop and I put some Goodyears on it, endurance, you know, that are rated for trailers. And I feel safe now. You know, it's
good, smart call.
It's not worth it, you know. And not only that, tie your loads down. Everybody knows I had a welding clamp go through the windshield of my Jeep about 3 years ago, and nearly took my head off. It came through my windshield at 70 miles an hour, and I couldn't react fast enough. So, yeah, safety.
Yeah, and because we talked about kayaks last week, about the class that Mike took is about safety. And it's all about safety, whether we're doing it at work, whether we're doing it at home, whether we're doing it out in the woods. You know, in this case, we're food plotting.
Driving tractors.
Even if you're driving a three-wheeler bike, there's got to be an amount of safety involved.
Mark, you want to chime in on that one?
I agree. When you put someone that's 250 on a three-wheel bike and you try to pedal that thing, you better be careful.
I've got video to prove it. We might see that here soon.
Yeah.
I tell you what, we laugh about it now, but all it takes is that split second, and it changes our life forever in a good or a bad way. And then it should have been one of those shoulda couldas.
Yeah, you know, even chainsaws. You know, putting you're cutting a food plot in, and you're removing stumps and removing trees or a DR trimmer or whatever. I mean, check the equipment, go over it with a fine tooth comb before you get out there and start up with it.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
So I just want to bring that out this second segment. Totally forgot about it first, but safety is everybody's key. Come home safely, whatever you're doing. But getting back to food plots, here we're like we talked about. We're in July. If I have a food plot that I planted in the spring and it's going into this dormancy now, do I just let it keep going dormant?
Yes, sir. Yep. The worst thing you can ever do to a dormant, let's say clover plot, alfalfa plot, anything like that. Worst thing to do is get on it. Stay off of it. Don't try spraying stuff. Don't be spraying any herbicides. Don't be spraying any fertilizers. Because number one, the plant's not going to, you don't want to put any more stress on the plant by spraying a selective herbicide to kill grasses or something out of it. You want to stay away from that. And then the fertilizers, they're not going to intake them in like they should when they're in the dormant stage. And number three is when them plants go dormant and you start seeing them brown up and they get brittle, when you drive over them, you just destroy them. So it's not like when they're a lush plant and they stand right back up. You'll literally destroy the plants. So the best thing to do, stay off of them. Unless you got the means, it is very hard to give that plot enough water, trying to water it to help anything. A lot of times you're going to hurt the plot. So unless you're giving that plot, 30,000 gallons per acre every other day, a 1-inch rain on a dormant plot that's been dormant for 2 months, you're not even going to see a difference in it. You got to continue having them rains to get that soil built back up. That one inch rain ain't going to do nothing for it. So the best thing to do is stay off of them. Wipe your tears because you're gonna cry a bit watching it do it. But other than that, I'd just stay away from it.
Okay, so go ahead,
Robbie. You make a good point there. A lot of people think that I can go in and I can just apply a coating of water, like you're watering your flowers in your landscaping, and that's really going to help it in this dry drought area that we're in. But you mentioned 30,000 gallons to a plot. How big of a plot are we talking about?
1 acre.
1 acre.
You're looking at 33,000 gallons of water per acre equals 1 inch of rain.
And you want to do that how often?
If I was going to do it and I had the tanks to do it, I would, in a drought situation, I'd be doing it about every other day.
Yeah. And, along with the recommendation of staying off the plot so you don't damage the plants, reaching that with water without really invading that space, you're just not doing yourself much of a favor.
No. You pretty much, when you do something like that, you pretty much got to start in when you see that drought coming in and you're like, man, my plants are starting to turn. They're still not in the dormant stage yet, but they're starting to turn. That's when they start. When them plants go dormant, I'm going to leave them alone. I don't water anything. Now you can get by let's say somebody's micro-till plots. Yeah, you can get in there, and if you take enough water, and when I mean micro, I'm talking 50-foot by 50-foot plots, stuff like that you can spray across of them, the whole 9 yards. Usually you can help a plot out like that and water it enough. But even like with germination, I try to tell people, and they think I'm crazy, the worst thing you can ever do for germination is water a plot, because I promise you can't get enough water on it unless it is a little tiny micro plot. So let Mother Nature take that. She's either going to be good or bad to us. 90% of them seeds are going to lay there dormant. You're never going to have an issue with them. When you start getting the rains, as long as the birds haven't came in and picked every single one of them out, they're going to germinate and they're going to go. So I'm a true believer. I quit sweating it years ago, and I just let her do her thing. And some years she's good, some bad, and most of the time it pans out and it's pretty good.
Well, while you guys were talking here, I did a quick search, 33,000 gallons. To put this in perspective, a smaller size truck that has a capacity, a larger tankers have a carrying capacity of 11,000 gallons.
Yep.
11,000. That's a tanker truck.
You need three tanker trucks.
You need 3 tanker trucks for 33,
per acre,
and that's every other day for an acre.
Yep.
Okay. So right now we here where we're at. We got some rain today. It was a quick hitter, but we went pretty much the whole month of July, just like everybody else. No rain. How many days on average would you say it would take to get a green up back and get it vital? I mean, what are we looking at? A couple every other day for a week, 2 weeks? What do you think?
If you can get some rains coming in, say a good rain, you start getting some moisture build up in that soil, and then you just have some nice showers, hit and miss throughout the week, you'll see a big difference in plots in a couple of weeks. You'll start seeing them green up. You start seeing them turn, and usually this time of year, you might start catching them cooler evenings, which is going to help. Cooler mornings. I can see, last year I went, almost 3 months with 1/10 of an inch of rain.
Okay.
And my clover literally was brown on the ground, the worst clover I ever seen in my life, and I planted it for 30 years. And within about 3 weeks, I had a green carpet, and within about a month and a half, it was literally it was the 3rd of October. Our season started first. The 3rd of October, it was actually matured out.
Okay.
So it will explode. A good perennial will do that. So one thing I've noticed a lot with, especially if you get into, let's say your brassica annual blends and stuff like that, and you got moisture and the plants come up and they're doing good, and all of a sudden the rain's good away from you and they start to dry up a little bit. I've seen more issues with bugs getting into them than I have as in the moisture. Okay. So you usually have a little bit more issues with bugs. But other than that, then they will do the same thing. But now if you get, and usually with an annual, you don't get into a drought where it will go dormant dead, because you're planting August, September, mid-September. We usually got some rain starting to roll in. Mm-hmm. So it's that plant going, because if that plant dies, it's dead. Where a clover, your perennials are going to go dormant and come back to life for you. Your annuals, when they're dead, they're dead.
Gotcha.
Okay, so with that being said, as we get in more, I look at this, the more it's more of a later timing. When July and August happen, kind of just let it roll. Mm-hmm. Don't over sweat it, overthink it, but just hit it hard a little bit later and wait for it. And a question that did come across from Adam Wynn is, I think I know the answer to this one, but what's the best tip for a newbie food plotter?
The best tip? Number one, check your soil and see what your pH is.
I knew that was going to be the answer.
That's why I brought it up on the screen. And if you go to the website, you can go right into the soils, and they've got a instant test kit by Antler King. There's 4 tests for one price, and the results come in 20 minutes. And Mark, you did that?
I did that. Yes, that is step number 1, and it's an easy process, instant results. You don't have to send it off. Antler King has made that step, that crucial step, so easy to do. You just need some distilled water, a couple, 3 cups, 8 ounces. Boom, you've got what you need. It gives you that indication. You go back and you look and you say, okay, now I know what my pH is. What's going to be the most suitable food plot that I could plant in this space that I'm going to get the best results out of it. So definitely test your soil, test it every year. And there's ways to improve your pH if you do find that you've got, a low, a 5 or a 4.5 in an area. You can add different things to your soil to make that pH grow and go and get higher, which will be more, bountiful for the food plots that you're planting. So you're not just throwing money in the ground. Speaking of throwing money in the ground,
you get your food plot test back, and you got some work to do. With the cost of everything right now, a lot of guys are going to say, I just can't justify spending the money right now to bring the pH in balance. But you're spending the money on the seed. It's it's not like you're throwing money after money. You've got to spend the time and get the soil right. Otherwise, you're not going to get the bang for your buck at what you're spending on the seed, because everything costs a lot of money right now. Am I right?
You're exactly right. But here's the way to look at it is, when you're starting a food plot, like I said, the first thing is checking your pH of your soil. Checking the pH of the soil and adding lime is the cheapest thing you can do to that plot. And it's the number one step most people don't do. So everything has went up, yes. Even limes went up, pelleted lime, ag lime, fertilizers through the roof. And I'm getting them questions all the time. What can I substitute? Well, it's kind of hard to do it, but when it comes to that lime, that pH is the leading factor of how much nutrients that plant can intake in from the soil.
And one thing nice about Antler King website that I have up right now is, at minimum, if you do the pH test, you can go take the number that you got, 5.6, 7, 8, 7, whatever, and then you can go and look and follow the required pH for the seed you're looking at. So if you've got a 7.0, it says a booner. If you're down by the 5.5s, you could get what do we got? 5.5. We could do Southern Greens and stuff like that. So it kind of leads you to a menu. At least it gives you a starting point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gives you a very good starting point. And one thing to add to that is that list is going to show you what will grow very well in your pH that you're dealing with. But just to let you know, if you add some lime and bump that pH up, the amount of forage that you're going to get is going to be night and day difference from, say, that 5.5 it will grow in to a 6.0. You're going to see the tonnage difference just explode in forage.
No, exactly right. So,
and you're not wasting money on fertilizer.
Well, that's kind of what we were talking about. Is the minimums that we need to do, with the prices of things. But there's certain things you have to do, and pH is one of them.
Okay, I got a question coming in here from Adam. It's kind of multifaceted. He says, if I'm planting a field edge with clover and corn is already planted in the field, should I still do a test? He says, isn't it already? It's already farmed yearly, so shouldn't the soil be fine to plant in?
It depended on the farmer, but yes, it should be. I mean, if it's in the field that he's actually farming and not in the woods 20, 30 yards back in the woods off the field, if it's right there next to it, he should have some pretty good soil. But again, unless you check that soil, you don't know. You're guessing, And for $15 for 4 tests, that's pretty cheap to know exactly what you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And the key thing is, too, what a lot of people don't realize is, and I get the calls all day long, no, I didn't check my pH, I didn't put any lime down, I went and bought extra fertilizer. If you don't have that pH at a 7.0, the 7.0 is the only way your plants can utilize 100% of that fertilizer that you put down. So if you're lower than a 7.0, say a 5.5, it can only utilize 25% of that fertilizer. So 75% of that fertilizer you just want to spend all this money on is wasted. So why waste money that way when you can add some $4 bags of pelleted lime to bump that up and not use as much fertilizer, and the plants are going to intake every bit of it in there. So, I mean, it's hard to get it into people's heads, but when they start thinking about it, they're like, wow, I understand what you're saying. We're not wasting money on fertilizer. So I want my plants to take in all the fertilizer that I can give them. That's just me. I mean, I'm tight with my money, so I'm not throwing away 75% of my fertilizer.
That'd be like pumping your car full of gas and taking 75% of it and throwing it on the ground.
Exactly.
So
you're exactly right.
That's a good way to put it. Something I got to thinking about here, what he is saying, planting next to a perennial next to an annual. Is there anything that we should consider there?
No, actually, especially with cornfield, you're looking at high energy food source. The clover, you're looking at a high protein food source. The fertilizer is going to be completely different for you. The one thing I try to tell a lot of them is when you're planting next to a field, especially spring. Now, in the fall, he's good to go. But in the spring, I get a lot of guys that will plant next to a cornfield or bean field and not think that farmer is going to come in there and spray that with Roundup.
Right.
It kills everything. So but usually, if there's a fall planting, their spraying time's already over with. Usually, unless they're running it over there. It's usually done. But no, planting it next to each other. The only thing you could have there, and usually the farmer, if it isn't his field, he's already taken care of with a pre-emergent or something like that. Other than that, you just have some weed or grass issues maybe that you can take care of.
And there you go. And so at least Know a starting number. Once you get a starting pH number, it can make a world of difference, save you money, and then go from there. And I tell you what, we're coming up on your second break.
Yep.
Why don't we go to our second break, and we'll come back, and we'll keep on talking about planting.
All right. Well, we're not going to step outside now. It's too hot, so I want to stay here in the air conditioner. We'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
All right. We're back. Third segment of the show. And in the commercial break there, Adam also just chimed back in and says, is there anything you could recommend that would be, other than clover, that would be better for a field edge?
And that's next to that. I take it he's talking about next to that cornfield, correct?
I would assume so.
Okay. He can go different ways. I like looking, when it comes to my food sources, I like looking for what the deer are going to want. So you got the corn there that's got a high energy food source. Most of your annual plants that you're going to be planting is a high energy food source too. So you're kind of getting doubling up on the energy. But again, the energy food source is what gets that deer through to the next year. That's what puts the fat back on his body. He needs that. So when I'm doing next to field edges, I'm 90% of the time I'm running honey hole on it. I actually run honey hole in the farmer's fields. He actually lets me get in there. I walk through the rows before he combines it. I spread my honey hole out, and then he runs over it. It's about 6 inches tall when he combines, and he runs over it. Next thing you know, I got all this beautiful honey hole popping up. So, but honey hole's my go-to when it's next to a field edge. But if he's wanting to get something established and have it there for a while, which being next to a field is probably not going to happen because the farmer's going to be spraying the next year, I would go with a perennial. So
makes sense. What are you looking at, Danny?
I'm just looking at some of the pictures by Mark. If you go to his his Facebook page, he's got a variety of animals that are on the property, and I tell you what, he's got some predators. He's got some bandits, and he's got a coyote.
I think he's telling him what he thinks of his
I really
camera
think,
there.
I really think so. He's showing him the southbound end.
That's right. That's the true call of the wild, or call of nature.
Yeah, that's Wile E. Coyote just letting me know that there's competition for the deer in that space, and the timing was perfect for that stupid dog to pull up there, and there it is. Just just pose for that camera, turn its back to me just to spite me, and let everyone else in the woods know that he's there. And it just, I've got another picture of that same Yodi, and it's a female, and she's dried up, so I know she's probably had a litter, and they're probably not too far behind her.
Well, talking about food plots and seeing all these critters there, that's another aspect of a food plot. It's not just, we're just not taking care of deer here. I mean, other animals will use food plots as well, right, Robbie?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yes. Especially your birds, turkeys, pheasants, quail, anything like that, rabbits. That it is very good for all of them. And it depends on what you plant. I mean, if I wanted to plant something that's going to help more critters out than anything, it's going to be something like our trophy clover mix or game changer clover, something like that. Turkeys love it. They love bugging through it. The rabbits enjoy it. The quail can hide in it. Pheasants can get in it. That's something I watch. I enjoy watching the critters almost more than I do the deer anymore, sitting in the food plot, watching them get through it and hide around, and it's fun.
Yeah, and especially if you're out there and got a tree stand sitting over, it does help pass the time. You're seeing all kinds of different critters out there. So
yeah, exactly.
I was thinking of something here when we were in the break coming back. We're talking a lot tonight about dealing with this weather. A lot of guys, getting ready to plant, they may be thinking, I'm not sure that we're going to get a good yield, so I'm going to overseed. Not good to overseed even in this hot weather. I mean, you're not going to get the bang for the buck. Am I right?
Worst thing ever to do. There's two things you never do when it comes to food plotting. You never plant a plot without checking your pH and getting it built up, and you never overseed a plot. So everybody always talks about more is better, but not when it comes to putting seed on the ground. That soil that soil only carries so much nutrients. And then like on back of our bags, when we take our products to the testing facilities, we know how much fertilizer that it's taken, what the germination rate is, the whole 9 yards. We get that multiplied out. That's what you'll see like on a lot of our bags, you'll see, let's say with honey hole, 300 pounds of triple 19 per acre. That's how we test these products. So if you take that product and you put 300 pounds of fertilizer on the ground and you go and double the rate of seed, then plants are going to jump up, and then all of a sudden they're going to start fighting each other, starving each other out for nutrition. They're going to wilt over and die. So you never have the plant as healthy as it should be. I always tell people, if you can't plant the recommended rate, plant it light. Don't go heavy.
Well, it's also going to be they're going to be competing for moisture, which we don't have a lot of right now anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So it's a twofold sword there, or two-edged sword, I guess.
Double-edged sword.
Double-edged sword. Yeah, there you go. It's hot. I can't talk.
Two-edged sword. What? I got up on the screen right now. If you come over to mine, this is what Adam Wynn is talking about. The field edge.
Put that thing full screen if you can.
That is full screen.
Oh, okay.
Trust me, I'm like trying to figure out how to blow it up. But yeah, so he is right. His camera's looking right onto the edge of the field, looking out from the woods. He's got a little bit of a zone, and then he's got the corn right there. So yeah, so I think I can see where he's wanting to plant. So getting something started in there shouldn't be really that tough. It's just a matter of, like you said, what's he looking to get? Like you said, Mark, getting what he wanted planted there.
Right. Robin, can you talk a little bit about seed depth? Because a lot of the seeds that we're planting are very, very tiny.
Yep. When it comes to seed depth, an old man told me many years ago that you never plant a seed over 3 times the diameter of the seed. You never plant it any deeper than 3 times the diameter of the seed. So when you look at a clover seed and it is the size of a pencil lead, the best thing you can do is put that seed on top of the ground and not try to cover it. Same way with your turnips, stuff like that. My favorite way to do it is, I'm using a Packer Max. I'm packing the soil, getting a good seed bed. I'm broadcasting my seed, and I'm packing it one more time. So I want that seed up on top. Now, when you get into like the pea blend, let's say our red zone or soybeans and beans, or soybeans and peas, I'm sorry. That's one there. You need to get that seed down a little bit, somewhere in that half-inch range. So it's better to try to cover that. So, and number one, I have planted a lot of it with this call to packing, pushing it into the soil, and had great germination rate. But the issue you have, I have so many turkeys, any seed that's exposed, them turkeys go crazy over, especially in peas. They will just go in there and pick every pea out of there. And but no, pack that soil, broadcast your seed, pack it again. That's my favorite way to do it.
Yeah, this is my favorite right here. Just looking at spread.
Yep.
And like you said, using the Packer Max, who will have Lincoln Roan on next week, is not a bad way to get a great seed bed started.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's got one of the best products out there when it comes to Packer, but I love it.
Well, it's economical. It's very handy. You can get it into tight spots. You can get it in deep. You can take it in empty.
You can pedal it.
You can pedal it. And it's just one of those things that, Packer Max for us, Mark has it down in Indiana. And then, like for Adam, he can get it hand spread. Depending on how big of area he is, he can lightly just rake it over, right? If he needed to.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, a steel rake has been my best friend for many years when it comes to certain size plots. That's the best way to rough up a little area, and then you can back drag right over top of it, cover it up a little bit. I mean, it works out perfect.
So just like that, you got some hand tools you can use. You don't need the big diesel John Deere out there with you.
Big 4-wheel drive, 8-wheel drive job.
Right.
Okay. 16-row planter.
Exactly. Don't need it.
And with that, you don't disturb the wildlife that's there. If you go in with manual tools, you're not introducing the loud noises and the different smells that way. And like Adam was saying, he's going to try to plant this weekend right before rain. So that rain's going to help seep that seed right into the soil. And he's not going to have any problems at all with it.
Well, I'll tell you what, planting that right before a rain, I would get in there. I would rake off all the debris in the area. I'd broadcast it right on top and let Mother Nature set it. I wouldn't even try raking it in.
There you go.
So, I mean, it'll set that well, we're talking honey hole or trophy clover, either whichever one he picks. Both will work great that way. And one thing about it is a lot of people don't realize, and I get this call more than I do anything, is weed problems. And Anymore you're getting so many people using till, and you're getting them using bigger equipment, bigger disc, plows, everything. The more you work that soil and the deeper you work that soil, the more weed seeds you bring to the surface, they germinate. Everybody thinks they can go spray a plot, kill it off, work the soil. They should never see a grass or weed pop up. Every time you work that soil, you bring them weed seeds up. And that's where all that comes from. So when you're doing like a no-till application like that, even with a still rake or just putting it right on top, you're not disturbing that soil and bringing all them weed seeds up. So that area that you got killed off and it's dead, you're going to have a lot less weed competition by doing it that way than if you went in there and dissed it up 6 inches deep.
Well, and breaking that soil up, you're going to let any moisture that's in there, you're going to let it out too. It's going to be dry.
And, and come back to the moisture, that's just like with the Packer Max. When you call the now, you got to have some moisture in the ground. It can't just be, dry as a bone. But if you have some moisture in that ground, very little bit, that Packer Max and the weight of that thing will actually help pull that moisture to the level, to the surface level. So it really helps in the germination rate.
There you go.
That's awesome. I tell you what, it's just one of those things. It all works together. It just, you got to put the time in. And I tell you what, I think we're coming up on our last break already.
Yep.
And so when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more.
All right. We're going to take our last break, and we'll be right back after this.
Acceleration is part of PSE's DNA. PSE pioneered the speed movement. Now they've developed the vapor category to help you find the most powerful bows on the market to fit you.
High speed equates to intense power and building the momentum you need to be successful. Are you a vapor shooter? Find out at psearchery.com.
All right, welcome back. Fourth segment of the show, last segment.
If you're catching the podcast in your ears, you got to tune into the Facebook Live or eventually look at YouTube to catch what happens in between the commercials that you hear, because there's things we talk about. Yeah, you might want to chime in and go, yeah, me too. And it's one of those things. But I do have a question as we're coming into August. Your thoughts on the possibility, because it's hot, it's humid, it's dry, and it usually has kind of a little bit of a recipe for blue tongue.
Mm-hmm.
You think what's the odds? You think you guys are going to get some, or you hope? I know we hope not, because it's terrible. But I know it'll take a little bit, a month or two, to hear about it. But you think it's going to have one of those years because of what's the weather type we're having?
Well, it's shaping up to be very possible. I looked here a while back. The creek that runs through my property. It's literally there's no water there, and then you got these little stagnant pockets. That's what bothers me. Mm-hmm. It is very possible it could happen. And in our area where I'm at, it's happened quite a bit over the last 10 years. So luckily, knock on wood, not on my property, but within a 30-mile radius, there's been a lot of it. But, oh, yeah, we're all worried about it right now. I actually just talked to my taxidermist today, talking with him. That was brought up. We're talking about it again. We're hoping we get some good rains to flush these creeks and all these waterways out.
What about you, Mark? Are you seeing any emerging signs of EHD down your way?
No, and unfortunately, I can't speak intelligently to, what's the best recipe for that to happen. But I agree with Robbie. When you got stagnant pools of water just sitting, it's a recipe for disaster. But I'm not hearing any talk around the Park County area right now. We'll give it another 30 days. It could pop up.
For sure, it'll take. It usually end of July, August is when it happens, and then you start to trickle it out, and you'll hear about it in September. But you just thought about it as we were talking about all the stuff that's been happening and whatnot. But it's one of those things that you hope it doesn't happen, because looking through your pictures, Mark, there's a lot of animals that you're feeding. All these food plots that we do put out there help those animals, and all of a sudden a little bitty fly can really mess it up.
Absolutely.
Mother Nature can be cruel.
Yeah.
Right. And every time I go to the farm, the first thing I do is I look for buzzards. I look to see if there's any buzzards anywhere, out of the norm where they don't normally roost, and kind of, follow my nose as I'm walking up in the hills and hollers and just kind of smelling for any decaying animal. Mm-hmm. It's going to tip me off real quick to go check it out and investigate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mark, Danny and I, we've asked a lot of questions here. I'm going to kind of turn this over to you. You're part of the Antler King team. Is there anything that we haven't talked about tonight that you want to cover?
The one thing, you guys did a great job of covering a lot of the stuff. One thing I would like to, throw out there, it's not really food plot related, but it's health of the herd related, is what can we do in a drought situation, Robbie, to provide water for the herd? I mean, digging natural holes, putting in a submerged tank, put the food plots closer to water sources. I mean, what can we do?
If it was me, and I've done this before, and we actually, when I was in Iowa filming some video shoots for commercials, we looked at good water holes that they put in there. I like running like a galvanized horse trough. Something that I can have a tank on back of the buggy. I can pull up there, I can fill it, and then the weather stays hot, no rain coming in, literally go out there and you top it off, let some run out of it, keep some fresh water in that thing. But the one thing I will tell you, and this is actually my secret, I've already told you, I can't remember, Mark, but
I probably forgot.
And again, it's going to sound like a sales deal here. The best thing you can do to a watering hole is if you got a 300-gallon water tank, add a 5-pound bag of power rack to it, or power rack mineral.
Okay.
And you know what? It will draw the deer. They'll walk around the pond to get to it. I'm just telling you. And that happened by mistake about 6 years ago with a buddy of mine that decided to do that when we were having some EHD problems. And it was actually at his front door. And he has a pond there at the house, and he could run a garden hose out there to his clover plot and put this in there. And just for giggles, one day he dumped the bag in there to see if it would sweeten it up or something. It's got minerals in it. It's got vitamins in it. Wonder if it'll help something out. And he had videos of them deer literally getting out of their bed, walking around his pond, around the front of his house, and going out there and getting a drink before they'd feed every night. And before they left there, they'd get another drink and leave. And quit putting the mineral in it, and that would slack down. Put it back in there, they'd pick back up. I think there's a lot more to it than I know about it. But I'll tell you what, I witnessed it, and it's amazing.
You said that was power rack?
It was power rack.
Kind of like giving them a Powerade drink.
Yep.
Sounds like
but it's loaded full of vitamins and minerals, and it works out great. But no, to get back to your question, I like using the troughs like that. I'm not big into digging a hole in the dirt. To me, you can get stagnant water a lot quicker that way, unless you start lining it and keep it up out of the ground some. It's definitely going to help if you can keep refreshing it. But I just like the trough. I like using a trough where I can
shade, or would you put it out in the sun?
I like mine in the sun.
Okay.
So, yep.
Danny and I ran across something here this last week, and people were talking about putting water troughs out. And somebody brought up the question about, I don't have running water to it, like a cattle trough where you've got access to put plumbing to it. They were worried about algae growing in it, and it was mentioned that if you put a piece of copper pipe in it, the copper in the water will actually kill the algae. Have you heard that?
That will, and also a cap full of bleach will do the exact same thing. But yeah, the copper will cut algae. Yep.
Okay.
And another tip was, if you're going to put a trough in the ground, don't put it even with the ground. Leave it
above it.
Leave it up a lip, because you'll have fawns falling in it.
Yep. You want to leave it up off there. Yeah, I like all my water sources up out of the ground. If I'm putting them in the ground, they're still going to be partially out. I don't like them at ground level.
So how high out of the ground? If you're going to put it in the ground, how high would you leave it?
If I'm going to put it in the ground, I'm probably going to do half and half.
Okay.
So depending on the tank, I like leaving a foot or so out. Sometimes I think putting that tank in the ground could help with just the coolness of the soil underneath of it, around it. But mostly I just stick them right up on top of the ground, and I refresh the water.
Now, do you paint the outside of them, or do you just leave the galvanized steel?
They're galvanized. They're shiny bright.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Would you go with galvanized, or would you go with a 75-gallon rubber one?
The rubber ones are
you can go
black.
You can go with a poly one. It doesn't matter. Yeah,
okay.
I'd go with poly white personally, just because of the heat source, because the black's going to draw heat.
Yep.
You might be able to cook hot dogs in it in this weather. Probably start boiling.
Got that right.
Well, again, like you said, whether whatever you can get at your local TSC or Rural King or whatever might be happening, go with what you got and refresh it up. But it's kind of a neat idea to just get out there and get some water out there, especially now. I know it's going to be around here it's dry, like you said. But anything to help you. And it's funny that we talk about how we do this, and we are so into helping out not just deer, but all animals that are out there. And it's like people get mad at you. Well, it's like you don't realize
the work we put into it,
right? And the thinking we're putting into this. We have a whole show on just and we've talked about turkeys, bobcats, and deer. And it just amazes me how the conservation in us just is 365 days a year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, the funny thing is I'm sitting here thinking about this and what we're talking, and I'm kind of laughing at myself because, we're sitting here talking about going out and spending $200-300 on a tank. Then we're going to have to buy another tank to be able to haul water to it. So we're going to spend a couple $100 for that to haul water to it. Then we're going to have to keep it flushed out. But at the same time, we won't spend $14 for a pH test kit to get our soil right.
Right?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We'll do all this other stuff, but that testing that soil, man, that's just, I can't do it. I think of that all the time. And the cheapest thing to do, and it's the one that most people don't do, but they go out and do everything else. Don't get me wrong. Been there, done that myself. Don't get me wrong.
It's the biggest bang for your buck.
A lot of stuff I buy, I should.
Yeah, it's definitely the biggest bang for your buck. I mean, it's good. It determines and sets the table for the whole field, and for the success of it. So highly recommend it.
Robbie, I really like what you said about adding, that power rack to your water, basically turning it into Kool-Aid. I think I'm going to try that and put a camera on it and just see what kind of Mother Nature critters come running to that. I think it's a great way to get power rack introduced to the herd, and it brings them to the water source versus them just discovering it on their own. But it sounds like that extra attractant really does draw them back to the water source that they vitally need that right now, and that's a good way to get it there.
And one thing I don't know, and I'm going to find this out because I never thought of this in all the years that I've done this and seen people do it. I've never asked, and I want to get a hold of Todd and talk to him and see what he thinks. Is with diluting that power rack down with that much water, will the digestive aid in that power rack still benefit the deer? So if it does, that can be a big factor in helping the deer out there in a situation like this because it's helping the digestive aid.
Okay, so let me just follow you on that for a second. So you have a product, and I don't know the size of that bag, 5-pound bag. Okay, so that 5-pound bag has got X amount of something in it to help them digest, correct?
It's got a digestive aid in it, yes.
Okay, so if you take that 5 pounds, put it into a 75-gallon tank, we dilute it by that much. I'm going to guess, and I'm going to take an uneducated hunting guess, that as much as it's been diluted, I bet you there's some traces that will help.
I would agree.
I'm with you on that. I'm going to do some research on it. That's something I've never thought of as a digestive aid. I always think of the vitamins and minerals and not the digestive aid. I'm going to do some research on that.
And it's kind of funny. I think Mark said it, or you did, Robbie. It's almost like a power aid, right?
Yeah.
So just getting it into their system is going to help them.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
You got to let us know what you come up with because that's going to be awesome.
I will. I'll be on that tomorrow. I'll be calling the man tomorrow and talking to him about it. Yep.
Now, I want to know the ratio of water versus what the ratio is for the right mix.
Okay.
For that.
Does Rural King have Antler King seed?
Yes, they do.
There you go. That's your answer.
You can put in a zip code, I think, on the website to find a local dealer.
Yeah. We have a dealer locate on our
where
website.
To buy? Found it.
Yep.
Where to buy? There you go. Just enter your zip code, and it'll tell you where to buy it.
And speaking of that, Robbie, as far as where to get Antler King, you've got a show coming up end of August over there in Illinois that you're going to be at. What's the dates on that?
The dates on that are the 26th and 7th.
Yeah.
And just to let everybody know, I am going to be set up there. I'm not selling product.
Okay.
I'm going to be customer support. Just because it's out of the planting season, pretty much, I'll have some, let me put it this way. I'll have some stuff there with me that I would entertain selling, but I'm not going to take the big full-blown trailer load just because it is late planting season. And most people are always going to have it bought, but I will have some stuff to help some people out there. But I'm mostly going there to help people out, help the show out, help our customers out with any kind of information like we're doing here right now. I don't know where you're going to be at. I might con you into coming over a day. But it's just, I just want to be there to help everybody out.
Right.
So
I think Mark should come over with his trike and show you how he pedals around with the Packer Max.
Yeah.
He'd be good burnouts in the drive.
Load it down with Antler King and pull that power or that Packer Max behind it.
There you go.
He's gonna have a big block Ford in that thing before it's over with.
I'm gonna paint it too. I'm gonna change it to black and orange.
There you go.
Another thing, Robbie, just on the tail end of that, in August, you're going to be busy the first week or so of August. Talk about what you do there that you've done. You volunteered for like last 18 to 20 years helping out.
I'm with the United Special Sportsmen's Alliance. I help them with the board. I'm a volunteer for them. We just work with special need kids in the outdoors. In the hunting season wise, like in October, this is actually our 20th anniversary for our dream hunt. So we're taking 20 special need kids on the first deer hunt. So I will guide / mentor on that, like I always do. That's my baby there. But the one I'm going up to in Wisconsin, that's what we call our Summer Fest. Is we bring we'll have anywhere from 200. It depends on the year, 250 to almost 500 kids that are with special needs. And we have free shooting. We have rifle range. We have pro bass fishermen there, pro cat fishermen there, running their boats on all the lakes for us, taking the kids fishing, arts and crafts. We just have great big 3-day event that just let these kids get out and enjoy. They tent camp. The ones that are able to, the ones that aren't, 15 miles down the road, there's hotels. So if they need electricity for health machines and stuff like that. It's just a great time. It's a good organization.
Is it a nonprofit?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Nonprofit. We're the largest Dream Wish granting charity in the nation for special need kids. So all volunteer staff, 100% volunteer staff. And what did Bridget tell me here the other day? 18,000 wishes granted now, I think, since 2001. Wow. So, yeah.
Yeah, hats off to you guys. That's a great thing to do. Can people give to that nonprofit? Can they sponsor and support that?
Oh yeah, you can go to childswish.com childswish.org. You can look up all the stuff for sponsorships, or if you're wanting to volunteer or anything like that. We have all over the world. We have events going on, fishing, hunting, everything. I mean, it's year round.
Yeah, don't tell me that sportsmen don't give back.
Yeah, exactly. Now that's my passion right there. So yeah.
All right. I got one question it's directed at me from my brother. He asked me what my pH level is, and I just happened to do a quick dig, and I had mine tested. I don't know if this is the latest one. It looks like it was 2020. I'm at 5.4 on my northwest plot, and my other one is
You're making me dizzy scrolling there.
I'm 5.4 on both plots.
Okay.
Northwest and northeast.
There you go.
Does it get 5 hours of sunlight every day?
I know the one plot does.
Okay.
The other one is in a shady type timber.
Yeah, I'm thinking game changer for the shaded area. So I've got an area that's 5.5 in the creek bottoms that is shaded, and game changer is just going gangbusters down there right now. And
what I did is I sent mine off to Mossy Oak Biologic. I sent them a couple samples, and they had it back within a few days.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
The biggest point is make sure you get a soil test done before you start dropping seed on the ground.
I don't care where they get it done at. Just get it done. That's the best thing they can do.
It's the best money you can spend on your food plot, and it doesn't cost that much.
You know what? We keep talking about food plots. We've been talking to it for about an hour, and we're coming to the end of our show. But, Robbie, tell everybody if they want to learn more about it from Antler King. You do something also live as well on Thursday nights?
We do. Through the first part of July here, we have shut them down. We're actually getting ready to fire them back up next Thursday. Thirsting for knowledge. It's something that we just get on. What I want people to do, and I got a list of it right now. They email me in questions and stuff. I answer them, but then I also bring them up on our show too, our hour-long show. So there might be somebody else there that has that same question that hasn't asked it yet. So I like going through them, but it's pretty much a question and answer type deal. People just get on there live with me and they just start asking questions. Mark's on there all the time, asking questions and stuff like that, and helping our guys out with some answers. And so it's a pretty fun event.
And that's on Facebook?
That's on Facebook, yes.
Okay.
Which Facebook page?
Our Antler King Trophy Products Inc.
Here you go, folks. Got it right up on the screen. Just go over to Facebook. Go to the Antler King Trophy Products Incorporated Facebook page. Give it a like. Give it a share. When he goes live, you'll be notified on Thursday nights.
There you go.
Yep.
Well, boys, thanks for joining us tonight. Robbie, Mark, both of you, thanks for taking some time out. Mark's on staff here with us, but he's also on staff with Robbie there at Antler King. So it's nice having somebody that knows both sides and can help us out tonight. So, Mark,
absolutely,
hats off to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Robbie.
Yep, thank you. I appreciate it.
Hang with us real tight after the show here, but we're going to wrap up. For everybody who's listening to us on iTunes, go over to iTunes. Make sure you give us a review over there. That helps us and it helps people who support us. And for those of you who are following us here on Facebook on the lives, give us a like, follow, share. Do that on all of our social media. Do the same for Antler King. Go over to theirs. Give them a like, follow, share as well. This all goes around together. We help each other out. And, us sportsmen, we got to stick together. It's imperative that we do. So with that being said, next week,
the one and only Lincoln Roan Packer Max will be on the show. You know it's going to be a good show, so get your questions ready, and we will...
We're going to be talking about Packer Max, obviously. We'll be talking a little more about food plotting, but I have a feeling we'll probably dive into the Michigan hunting regs this year.
I'm pretty sure we're going to go off. We're going to go off into the weeds real quick.
I got our 2 soapboxes all waxed up, ready to go, and I know his is ready. And we're going to get him fired up and turn him loose. So,
and then the week after that, which I think we're into August.
Yes,
is we're going to have the boys on from Indiana, Southern Bait Indiana Company, Southern Indiana Bait Company.
That's right. We had them on back February, March-ish, somewhere in there. These 2 young brothers actually have got their own plastic bait company. They've won many awards in different categories throughout the United States. These kids are just incredible. They're not kids anymore, they're young men. But anyway, we're going to get them back on the show. We're going to talk about what they've been up to. They have been hitting it hard the last 3 or 4 months. We've been following them here on Facebook. So that'll do it for us this week. Y'all take care. Make sure you join us next Wednesday night. We're going to have Lincoln Roan on, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun. Y'all take care, and we'll see you again next Wednesday night, 7:30.
This episode was brought to you by PSE Archery,
Deer Camp Coffee,
Buck Baits,
JPO Game Calls,
The Island Armory,
Packer Max,
Sunrise Archery,
and C3 Better the Hunt Technology.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe until next week on the Up North Journal.